here has been to a circus, an amusement park, bought makeup, or even eaten a burger? I'm sure a lot of you have at least done one of those things. And you're probably wondering where I'm going with this or what all they have to do with anything. And they all each do have one thing in common. And that one thing is they all have to do with animals being abused. Circuses and, SeaWorld, amusement parks, they work their animals to death and they don't give them any room to roam, and they're locked in cages when they're not performing. A lot of brands who test their makeup on animals, the animals get really bad skin irritation, they get sick, and they end up dying. And as for the burger part, a lot of slaughterhouses actually abuse and torture the animals before killing them. The Humane Society of the United States estimates that over 1 million animals are either killed or abused every single year. That's crazy, right? And I love animals. I consider myself to be an animal activist, and I want animals to be able to have their rights. Every summer I volunteer at rehabilitation centers, pounds, anywhere that has to do with animals and helping animals. And when I started volunteering many years ago, I learned that a lot of animals do get abused, a lot of pets get abused, and a lot of people throw their pets out when they're done with them. And it's really sad thing to think about, but it really is the reality. Today I want to talk to you about the different ways that animals do get abused, and it goes unseen because it doesn't really get reported or talked about. Animals certainly do get taken advantage of because they don't have a voice and they don't have a say. Like I mentioned before, circuses, amusement parks, even dog fighting. Pit bulls are really known to be in dog fights, and people do this for their own enjoyment. Inhumane killing, in slaughterhouses, it's not only cows, but chickens, pigs, any animal that is eaten is getting tortured, and they're getting tortured really badly. And effects of this is obviously physically, the animal gets hurt physically, but also psychologically, they get really messed up. They can develop anxiety, and obviously they get very fearful and they don't trust, and they just go through a really hard time mentally and emotionally. Now I'm going to explain how abusing animals actually can affect you. It can affect humans, and it can affect anybody. According to Senate media, there actually have been undercover cameras that are placed in these slaughterhouses, and what the footage is really heartbreaking. I've seen it myself, and I cry every single time I see it. The workers, they beat the animals, they kick the animals, they beat them with shovels, they chain them and drag them. They put them in really small cages so that they have nowhere to move. They never wash them or anything like that. It's like they enjoy torturing these animals before they even die. And according to Animals Asia, in circuses and amusement parks, animals are able to perform daily, and they practice every single day. And when they don't comply or don't do what they told, you guessed it, they're beaten and until they cooperate. And when they're not practicing and when they're not performing, the many shows that they do daily, they are just put in a cage. So big animals like bears, tigers, elephants, they're put into a cage where it's just like this. They can't move, they are not allowed to roam anywhere. Their life is to put on a show and then sit in a cage. People who actually abuse animals are 5 times more likely to abuse humans. I mean, think about it. Someone who's able to watch a helpless creature die and be tortured, I mean, come on, what makes you think that they wouldn't do that to a person? And it's a scary thought to think about it, but again, it's really the reality that we have right now. The Humane Society says that 83% of abuse cases have been linked to women who go to these domestic violence shelters, and they report that their significant other actually abused, harmed, or killed their family pet. If people are informed about this, we can stop it. We can put an end to this. There's laws and policies that can be put in place to stop the abuse and to give animals the rights that they deserve. I propose that people stop going to circuses, they stop going to amusement parks. Because in the end, if nobody goes to these places, they're gonna be forced to stop. And you might think, well, what about the animals? Where are they gonna go? There's so many shelters that are willing to take these animals since they are domesticated, and they will have a huge land for them to roam free and just live their best life, honestly. Everybody's voices are going to be heard once this happens, and then all the places that abuse animals by having them perform, abuse animals with animal testing, they'll stop. And since our voices will be heard, all the companies will stop doing this and animals will stop being abused. It can be mandatory that all slaughterhouses put up surveillance cameras and are watched every single day to ensure that these workers are not abusing and torturing these poor, innocent, helpless animals. They're already gonna die. Why do you have to torture them? Why can't you just kill them in an inhumane way? And there we go. You can, once they're dead, you can do whatever you want with them. But why is there a need to torture them while they're still alive and they can actually feel? And I don't think that animal abuse is something that you just have installed into you from birth. I think that it's learned. And so if we implement a class in elementary schools that teach animal compassion, I believe that there will be less people who grow up to abuse animals. So I ask that you consider to not attend circuses, amusement parks, buy products from brands that use animal testing, to not buy meat from slaughterhouses that abuse animals. Because in the end, animals have just as much as a right as humans do. And since animals can't talk, we have to be their voice. Thank you so much.